Like you said, you got to go all over the world, to
Yeah.
Germany, to Mexico, and then finally you get your big break, your big
Hmm.
tryout with WWE. Uh, Tell me about that experience. You try out, you get in the company, and then they give you this awesome role.
So I mean, it didn't start off that way. It was more so I ended up working for this promoter, very legendary promoter in Southern California named Jesse Hernandez,
Hmm.
and it was the first time that I had ever worked for him. A good friend of mine had brought me in to wrestle him, and I think we did well. I thought we did well, and then at the time I had the mask, that red mask,
Yep.
the luchador stuff, and
Yes.
um I think we impressed him, and then Jesse comes up to me afterwards, and then he's like, "Hey," and I'm paraphrasing, "Hey, WWE's coming to town. They're looking for luchadors and Latinos, like about your height, your size. Would you be interested in doing a tryout?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." Um, and at the time, I was not up to date on the product because I used to work in production and video production.
Hmm.
So our days were like 16 hours, just to catch up on projects. And then after I was done with my work, I would go to training. So I wasn't up to date on the product, and obviously this is before social media. Um, so I didn't know. So I ended up kind of trying to catch up on what was going on, and I had seen the Alberto promo, but I didn't pay too much attention to it because obviously at that time that wasn't even a thing for me in my mind. So I go and I do my tryout. It's at the Staples Center on August 10th. We get there like around 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever, and then we were wrestling for like 3, 4 hours just straight. Um, we did this drills like man in the middle where we just kind of have one person gets their ass beat basically by
Hmm.
everybody and then
Yep.
kind of trade off. But I at the time, and then actually I just saw my one of my trainers that I'm very grateful for. His name was Gangrel from WWE. He was
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
my trainers before I got
Hmm.
signed, and I just saw him on Saturday, and I had this chat with him. That one thing he had told me, and then I will always be grateful for. He's like, stay in as much as possible. Don't let them see that you're tired. Um, so then I took that person, I took it to heart. So when we did those drills, anytime that somebody would tag me out, I would catch my breath and I would tag myself back in, and I would just I was hogging the ring, but I kept staying in there, and it was like so exhausting. And then after that, we did matches, and then they did like a little tournament style where they kept getting people that they liked out of each match, not who won, but who they liked, and they just kept putting them up. And at the end, it was myself and this other guy, um, and and yeah, so it just kind of went from there. And then they asked me some more information afterwards. They had asked me if I was under contract anywhere, and I said no. They had asked me if the opportunity were to present itself, if I'd be willing to relocate to Florida. I was like, yeah, of course. Whatever they needed. So then they left it at that. And then so that night for Raw, they come up to this one guy. They went up to Jesse Hernandez and they had asked him that they were looking for somebody for the next day, like a ring announcing deal. And then Jesse had suggested this other kid, um, yeah, who was the last kid that I wrestled in the little tournament style,
Hmm.
and he did for whatever reason they had asked him, but for whatever reason he said he couldn't make it the next day. He couldn't make it to SmackDown for whatever reason. So then Jesse goes, well, he speaks Spanish. So then they came up to me and they approached me and they had asked if I'd be willing to go to Bakersfield, California the next day for SmackDown to do this ring announcing deal. And I've never done ring announcing before. I didn't even have a tux. But I said yes. So then the next morning I went to a Goodwill Salvation Army, and I got a cheap little suit. And there was a bridal shop store across the street, and I went and got bow ties. So then I went from there and I went to Bakersfield, which is like 2 hours north of LA. I did that whole tryout. I did the thing. I did the first day with Alberto. Um, Vince liked it. They asked me to come back, and then I got offered a contract right after the second attempt.
At this time, they didn't really have like a lot of managers or other
Mm,
kind of personnel alongside the wrestlers. It was just, maybe you had your valets, your female valets here and there, but you didn't really have a lot of managers. But they had you come on board with this new character alongside Alberto Del Rio, and that was just a money deal, man, where you guys were perfectly together.
Well, it also didn't start that way though. I mean, it was just, and then I got to speak to some of the folks in the office, and then that Ricardo part was only supposed to be the one off just for the debut. That
Mhm.
was the only thing it was supposed to be there for. But Vince really liked it, so they kept bringing me back as an extra, and I was an extra for a couple months. So I kept dressing in the hallways. I kept dressing with the low extra talent. Because I wasn't an official talent yet, but they kept bringing me over. Um, so it didn't start off as like a manager. It just started off as the ring announcer, the personal ring announcer. And then as time went on, because I think I was an extra for basically like 3 months until I got the clearance from the medical and then the actual contract. I was basically an extra for like 3 months. Um, and it wasn't until maybe like the fourth or fifth month that I was actually able to like dress in the locker room. It was much later. Um,
Yeah, get
but
physical
yeah, I
and
was an extra for months until I got the official contract, and I was basically invited to to dress in the locker room. And then from there, little by little, I started getting more involved with the stuff and the storylines, and then that it came from personal ring announcer to just like a valet to then little by little then manager, and then to eventually wrestling. But it was a slow progressive build to that persona that Ricardo was.